Between knowing nothing and knowing everything, there's a zone. That's exactly where we sit. Not experts, just curious about the world. I'm your host, Shabazz. Welcome to the Buffer Zone. My co host, Shivam, is somewhere in Malaysia right now as we speak. So I'm sorry, but you have to bear with just me this time. Welcome to relatively short episode number 6. Let's get straight into it. Over the last few days, PM Modi made comments that honestly caught a lot of people's attention. Not because he announced a war, not because we are in some kind of immediate emergency, but because of its tone. He spoke about restraint, being careful with unnecessary international travel, avoiding panic buying. He talked about using less fuel, talked about being cautious about buying gold. Now, naturally, when a prime minister starts talking like that, people begin asking, what is the government seeing that we are not? Believe me, if you've been following us in our last few episodes, you know what's up. You know what's happening in the Middle East. So good job to Buffer Zone, I guess. But honestly, that's a fair question, right? People who don't know what's exactly happening, what's causing all this, I think it's a fair question to ask. Like, what are they seeing that the normal people are not? Because if you look at the global situation, Israel, Iran, USA in the Middle East, it's not looking good. We're going through a very uncertain phase. And for India, that matters a lot. India, Middle East पे काफ़ी डिपेंड करता है. वहाँ पर कुछ भी हो तो अनस्टेबिलिटी आती ही आती है. अगर वहाँ पर अनस्टेबिलिटी आ गई तो इंडिया को इफेक्ट करता है. अभी तक नहीं किया एटलीस्ट टू द एंड कस्टमर, स्पेशली व्हेन इट कम्स टू फ्यूल. वी डोंट नो व्हाट विल हैपन इन द फ्यूचर, बट दिस कुड बी preparedness from PM Modi's side, because I don't think his speech was about instilling fear. I think it was more about psychological preparedness before panic starts spreading. What we have noticed is sometimes panic itself becomes the crisis. We've seen कुछ महीने पहले पेट्रोल पंप्स पे इतनी लाइंस थी because of, you can say, some kind of fake news, fake narrative that was set on social media about, the supply issues of fuel, but that was not true. That was baseless. But it had an impact on ground, right? So moment these things happen, when people start to rush toward gold, markets become emotional. Social media, as I've already said, spreads fear. That becomes a problem. And that makes the problem worse than it actually is. And that's why the government is just asking the people to not react emotionally. At the same time, citizens also have the right to ask some difficult questions. Democracy has to be a blend of patriotism and accountability. And being cautious is not a strategy in itself, right? Preparedness matters too. How prepared are we? How prepared is India if oil prices go up and stay up for months? Do we have enough reserves? How resilient is the economy if the global situation keeps getting worse? These are legitimate questions, and I think mature conversations should be able to do both. Stay calm, but also ask serious questions. Because in reality, world right now is unstable. India, despite its growth and global rise, remains deeply connected to international developments. We cannot run away from that fact. So maybe the real takeaway from PM Modi's remarks is not panic, but awareness. Think about it. Awareness about asking the right questions about our preparedness as a nation as well. Patriotism doesn't mean कि हम blindly zoom कर लें, सब कुछ ठीक हो जाएगा, सब कुछ, सबका ध्यान already रखा हुआ है, सब कुछ ठीक होगा. It also means wanting to play our part. हम क्या योगदान दे रहे हैं? Wanting to play a part in making sure that our country is genuinely prepared when some difficult time comes. Our country should be prepared. Wanting that, how can we contribute? Thinking about that. And accountability is not anti-national. If you ask difficult questions, it shows that we care. And that is part of being a responsible citizen, where we are able to ask our leaders what's happening. Are we prepared enough? And if we are not, how can we be better now? All those questions make sense. And if you're a responsible citizen, use what PM Modi said, not to instill fear in people or in yourself, but use that to think, use that to be more aware of how the situation is evolving. Become more aware, become more interested in geopolitics, so that you understand that ये जो चीज़ें हमारे आसपास होती हैं उन सब का एक ना एक दिन जियोपॉलिटिकली हम सेइंग होता है, तो आपके ऊपर इम्पैक्ट आता ही आता है एज अ फाइनल कंज्यूमर. चाहे आप एलपीजी की बात करो, आप फ्यूल की बात करो, गोल्ड की बात करो, करेंसी. आप बाहर ट्रैवल का थोड़ा रिस्ट्रिक्ट करने को बोला, बट इफ यू ट्रैवल आउटसाइड, हाउ वेल इज योर करेंसी डूइंग? आपको नुकसान उसका तो राइट, नुकसान फायदा जो भी है, डिपेंडिंग ऑन हाउ योर करेंसी इज डूइंग राइट नाउ. एनीवे, दिस वाज माय रीडिंग ऑफ द सिचुएशन. मैंने सोचा कि this is something that is in the news, so it was important for us to come and address the situation. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think the government is simply being cautious, or do you think they're preparing people for something bigger globally, something that they know will happen and we have to be prepared for that, so that एकदम हो जाए, हमें पता हो कि हाँ ये होना था. So that's an interesting thing to look forward to in the next few weeks, how that situation develops in the Middle East and how that impacts us also. And if you've enjoyed my views or you have disagreed with my views, please feel free to comment and like, share and subscribe the channel, because we'll keep covering stories like these in a balanced, serious tone. I have given you my opinion. Whether you agree with it or not, please let me know in the comments. I like to do this in a balanced and serious tone, but also with a little bit of fun, because all work and no play makes Shabazz a dull boy. Amateurs seek the sun, get eaten. Real power lies in the shadows. This is the Buffer Zone. See you in the next one.